They smile in the crowd, laugh at the right moments, and speak softly when spoken to. To everyone else, they look composed, calm, collected, maybe even strong. But behind that quiet face is a storm no one sees. They carry words they'll never say, tears they'll never show, and memories that echo when the world goes silent. You might have met someone like this. You might even be someone like this. They don't argue, they don't explain. They just go quiet, slowly stepping back, quietly fading from the noise of the world. And yet their silence isn't emptiness. It's full of meaning, full of emotion, full of pain. Because silence is not peace, it's protection. It's what people choose when speaking has failed too many times. The truth is, the most emotionally wounded people rarely scream for help. They whisper it, through distance, through stillness, through the way they vanish when they're hurt. And while the world believes they're fine, something far deeper is unfolding within them. Something heavy, hidden, and misunderstood. This is the psychology of people who stay silent when they're hurt. Her name is Elena. To most people, she's gentle, the kind of person who listens more than she speaks. She remembers birthdays, sends thoughtful messages, and always asks how you're doing even when she's falling apart inside. But lately, something about her has changed. Her phone lights up with messages she doesn't answer. The group calls she used to join, she ignores them now. She says she's just tired, just busy, but her voice has lost its warmth. When friends ask if everything's all right, she smiles faintly and says, "I'm fine." But she isn't. Her "I'm fine" means she's replaying old conversations in her head, wondering where things went wrong. Her "I'm fine" means she's trying to convince herself that she doesn't care anymore. At night, she lies awake, scrolling through photos she swore she deleted, remembering the promises that never lasted. And in the quiet of her room, she whispers to herself, "Maybe it's better this way." People like Elena don't explode when they're hurt. They collapse quietly. They retreat one small step at a time until their world becomes a single safe corner where no one can reach them. They don't seek revenge. They don't shout. They just disappear, not because they've stopped caring, but because caring has become too heavy to carry. Elena's silence isn't indifference. It's exhaustion. It's her way of saying, "I've tried. I've spoken. I've been misunderstood too many times." And so she chooses quiet. Because to her, peace, even if it's lonely, feels better than explaining her pain to those who never really listened. Silence. It sounds peaceful, but for many, it's not peace. It's protection. When words have failed too many times, the mind begins to build walls instead of bridges. It learns that silence can't be twisted, can't be used against you. It becomes a shield, a defense mechanism forged in the aftermath of disappointment. Psychologists call it emotional withdrawal, a quiet rebellion of the heart. When someone like Elena stops speaking, it isn't because she has nothing to say. It's because every time she did, it cost her something. Trust, safety, dignity. So she retreats, and in that retreat, she finds a strange kind of safety. Silence becomes her armor and her prison. But behind that quiet lies something deeper. Fear. Not the kind that makes you run, but the kind that makes you stay still. The fear of being misunderstood, of opening up and hearing, "You're overreacting," of showing your scars only for someone to call them drama. Studies in emotional psychology show that people often suppress expression when they anticipate invalidation. The mind starts to believe that silence hurts less than being dismissed, so they stop trying to explain. They nod, they smile, they say, "It's fine," because that lie is safer than the truth. And it often starts early. For some, silence was taught, not chosen. A child learns that crying brings no comfort, that anger earns punishment, that joy is too loud. So they adapt. They learn that being quiet keeps the peace. They grow up mastering invisibility. And by the time they're adults, they no longer know how to ask for help, because needing help feels dangerous. Children who grow up unseen, psychologists say, often become adults who hide their wounds well. They wear composure like a mask, calm, collected, unbothered. But beneath that calm is a heart screaming to be understood. And so the silence continues. Because somewhere along the way, the world taught them that being quiet is strength. That staying composed means being mature. That saying, "I'm okay," is better than admitting, "I'm breaking." But this kind of strength destroys quietly. They think they're protecting others from their pain, but in truth, they're fading behind their own mask. And the longer they pretend, the further they drift from themselves. They say nothing because they don't want to burden others. Yet in that silence, they slowly disappear. Silence isn't weakness. It's communication, just unspoken. Every quiet moment carries meaning. Sometimes it says, "I'm protecting myself." Sometimes it whispers, "I'm still processing." And sometimes it's the only language a broken heart remembers how to speak. Silence can be a form of self-preservation. It allows space to breathe when emotions feel too heavy to explain. It gives the mind a moment to collect the pieces before trying to make sense of them. For some, it's not avoidance, it's survival. It can also be emotional regulation. When words could come out as anger or desperation, silence becomes restraint, a way to keep dignity intact. It's how a person says, "I don't want to make things worse, even though I'm hurting." And sometimes, silence is grief itself. It's sitting in the stillness of loss, letting the ache echo until it softens. It's not about pushing people away. It's about finding your center again, piece by piece. So before you assume someone is cold, detached, or distant, remember, not everyone heals out loud. Some hearts heal in quiet places. They rebuild themselves in the spaces between words. And when they finally speak again, it's not because they've stopped hurting. It's because they've learned to turn pain into peace. Silence doesn't always mean there's nothing left to say. Sometimes it means everything that needs to be said is already felt. People who stay silent when they're hurt aren't emotionless. They're the ones who once felt everything too deeply, who gave, trusted, and believed until it broke something inside them. Now they've learned that silence is safer than explaining pain to people who never really listened. They've learned that peace sometimes costs distance, and that healing doesn't always make noise. So if you've ever gone quiet, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started protecting your heart, This story is yours. You're not cold. You're not distant. You're just tired of bleeding in places where no one sees the wound. And maybe that silence isn't the end. Maybe it's the beginning of finally being heard by yourself. So tell me, are you one of them?